Hey guys, welcome to Through the Bible Verse by Verse, a plain and simple study of the entire Bible book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse. We are starting a new book. It's First Chronicles. And if you pay attention to my thumbnail, you saw the title, 9 Chapters of Genealogy. That's because the first 9 chapters of Chronicles is an extensive list of genealogies. Okay, going from Adam all the way to the post exile, and that's something of noteworthy here, because while it is tedious going through genealogies, and let me just say right up front, which I always say, one, I'm going to put you the names, so I'm not even bothering to really say I'm going to pronounce names. And secondly, I'm not going to go through every name, and you would see why as I explain why that I'm not going to go through every name on there. However, the genealogies serve an important part on some levels. One, the first and primary purpose of the genealogies is to establish the bloodline of Jesus. And that is the most important. That is why they're there. So what you see is, we're going to see this extensive list. Excuse me. We saw another extensive list in Genesis. There's another list that we see in Matthew and Luke. And pretty much, probably, especially the Matthew and Luke uses this genealogy as part of it. So the most important part is to establish the bloodline of Jesus. So when you talk about Adam through Seth, through Abraham, through David, that's the most important bloodline there. And we're going to see that. Then you have the genealogies for Jewish descendants. Okay, for Jewish descendants. So that each person, whatever claim they had, and so as we're going to see, every tribe is going to be represented in this genealogy, the heads of them. So then if you had a claim in one particular tribe of one of the sons of Israel, then you had to be able to prove through genealogy. Here's my genealogy. Now let me say that this is one of the things that is important about the genealogies. What we have is genealogies from Adam all the way to Christ. So that means if you go to Matthew and Luke, those genealogies. And then pretty much that's where genealogies stop. I'm not aware. And I'm going to say this from a place of ignorance. I'm just saying I'm not aware that there are genealogies past Jesus. So you can say past the first century, past Jesus. I just don't know if there is. I don't know. So what is interesting today, and I'm going to take a little liberty here. When we think about the Jews today, okay, so there are people who are occupying the land of Israel today who are called Jews. It is reasonable and valid to say, are they the descendants of Abraham? And so the question would be, can they provide genealogies from our standpoint that would date back 2,000 years to the last known genealogies, which would have been in doing, again, Matthew and Luke. Okay? So here's what I'm saying. I'm not denying that the occupants of the land of Israel are the actual descendants. I just don't know, right? Another interesting thing is this. There are people who call themselves black Hebrew Israelites, okay? And so there is a movement, excuse me, there is a movement of thought out there that says that the black people are the Jews, and they're whether it's Hebrew Israelites, there are some other groups like them, Hebrew Israelites, black Hebrew Israelites. Okay, so and there are other groups like them that will claim they will use the name Hoishia as Jesus and things like that, and basically they will claim that they themselves are the descendants of Abraham or the real Jews. I don't know if they necessarily even use the term descendants of Abraham, but they certainly say that they are the Jewish, the original Jews. Okay, and they would say that. Okay. So again, here's my thing. Rather than get into an argument over what their claims, my challenge is, can you show genealogies that prove you are the descendants of Abraham? Okay? So those two schools of thoughts are interesting. Because so far, I don't think either one of them can. So another thing about genealogies, as we're going to see in here, another thing about genealogies, of course, even though, like I said, I'm not going to by no means go by the complete genealogies. I mean, every name, because there's a lot of them. Like I said, there's 9 chapters, and you can see it's quite tedious. There are some gems within them, and at best, I'm going to try to hit all of those gems. Okay. Now, again, so these 9 chapters of genealogies, this tells us that Chronicles, okay, that Chronicles is written after the exile. So most people may even believe that it is written by Ezra, who we have the book of Ezra. He was a scribe. Even though it's not, again, the book itself doesn't have no author is named in there. But it was, without a doubt, written after the Babylonian exile. Now, that's important. It's important to understand then the timeline, and then why these genealogies are important. One, they are the genealogies of Jesus. That's important. He had to prove that he was the descendant of David and Abraham. Had to prove that by genealogy, which these genealogies do. The purpose, God's purpose of the genealogies are to show that. Then you have the other genealogies, and their purpose is to show how they lead away from the genealogies of Jesus or the bloodline of Jesus. Okay? Again, it will be kind of tedious. So let me pull up my thing here. I'm not going to use this. I'm not going to use this chart, obviously, but as you can see here, these are the kings listed. Now we used this, of course, when we went through First and Second Kings, And by the way, one of the things about the difference in kings, when we talk about kings, um, remember these two books chronicle a historical narrative. As when we get into Chronicles, the focus would be on the genealogy of Judah, which is the bloodline of Christ. So we're going to see more, you can almost say, spiritual narrative here. Whereas in Kings, we saw more of the political side of mostly the northern kingdoms here, and then the southern kingdoms. What did I just have here? Yeah, here it is. Basically, this is what I need right here. So these show the northern kingdoms versus the southern kingdom. So that's First Kings right there. But also, it's the timeline. Okay, so from Solomon's son Rehoboam down to Zedekiah, right, and then you see Jeroboam down to Hoshea. Okay, so these are the divided kingdom. Now, what is interesting, after the Babylonian exile, so there were two conquerings of Israel. Now, you had Saul, then you had David, Saul was the first king of Israel, and then David was the greatest king of Israel. Okay, but David also, and by the way, and David was such a great king that God said that he was a man after his own heart. Then, so he was so esteemed by God that the bloodline of Jesus would come through David. And so this is what we would see here on the kings of Judah side, Rehoboam, and you come all the way down to Zedekiah. Okay. Now, the genealogies that we're getting ready to study actually go beyond that. And then let me see if I could kind of bring this up here. So this is these genealogies, and again, we're going to study them. But I want to show you the let's see, Matthew's genealogy. Well, let's go to Luke's genealogy. I think it's here that I want. Oh, yes. So this right here is Luke's genealogy that starts with Jesus when he was 30 years old, but he starts with Jesus, and it goes back. So doing what is called the dark years. So from this time here, Joseph, back to Zerubbabel. So these two, Shealtiel and Zerubbabel. So these two, all these other periods where it was called the period between the Testaments, the Old and New Testaments. About a 500-year period. It is also known as the dark time because there was no prophetic word. Okay. However, notice that they kept genealogies or records, right? So then you have, this is doing the exile time. Where is he at here? The exile, it should be right here, around here. Where are you at? I'm looking for this period here. So Zerubbabel, Shealtiel, Ner, Malachi, Quasim, Elam, Joshua. Okay. Oh, I want to say this too. One thing here. about genealogies. Let me come out of this because one of the things about genealogies is genealogies are designed to lay out specific bloodlines. In this case, Jesus' bloodline. It's important to note that not all genealogies, however, are accounted for. In other words, it wasn't necessarily designed to be a blow by blow, but to show a flow. That's just the way the Jews, how they record it. Okay, and so there's no one that kind of, in other words, there's no discrepancies in the bloodline of Jesus. So I want to go back because with these genealogies here, I'm actually looking for, well, look at this. Let me see if I can pull this up. This is a King's. Hezekiah. Yeah, Rehoboam, Solomon, Rehoboam, Zedekiah. Let me see if I can see this. I'm looking for a particular king thing here. So this is Luke's. Okay, so we'll do. All right. Let me see. I'm gonna see if I can see it in Matthew then. Okay, so Zubarah would be the time between the post-exile. Let me see here. Let me go to Matthew. Well, let me finish this here. Come on, that's not what I want. All right. From Luke's gospel, who, by the way, was a Gentile. Luke was a Gentile. So notice all of these names, and we're going to get to some of them that go all the way back to Adam, and then you see Seth. I'll talk more about that later. But so this is the bloodline of Jesus from Adam all the way to Joseph. Now let me go to Matthew's genealogies if I can find what I'm looking for here. Sometimes they're different names, that's why I'm not probably seeing it. So Matthew, okay. So Matthew starts at Abraham, and he comes forward. He doesn't go from Abraham from Adam to Abraham. The other genealogies do, but so here. So you can see we come to David and then the exile. Okay. So Josiah and then Jehoiakim. Okay. And then after the Babylon. Okay. So this is what I was looking at. Jehoiakim fathered Shealtiel. So this is all doing the 70-year. So this is all, this is the genealogies coming from Abraham up to Joseph and then Mary. All right. All right. So now let me come out of this. Now, only reason why I went through this, to kind of give you this brief overlay, is as we're going to get into the genealogies, they are important, but they are tedious. And that's why I said I'm going to definitely gloss over them and just pull out some of the nuggets as we go along. So, all right. So I'm going to see you in the next study. Don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. Hit that subscribe button. Remember, all comments are welcome. And the next time I'll see you then. All right.